The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'll be joined by Glen Heffernan, and he's the owner-operator of the Bottom Feeder. He created this product several years ago, and I'm a big fan of the Bottom Feeder. Now, it's had its ups and downs over the last year, and Glen's going to come on and talk to you about the progress he's made in kind of turning the ship around and getting the Bottom Feeder back to where it should be, which is a top vacuum system that all the pool pros gravitate towards purchasing. Pool Service Pro, open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro. I'm joined today by Glen Heffernan, and he's the owner, operator, and creator of the Bottom Feeder vacuum system. How you doing today, Glen?
I'm doing okay, David. How are you, sir?
Good. So if the listeners don't know about the Bottom Feeder, why don't we just briefly summarize what the Bottom Feeder is, how you came up with the idea, and all that good stuff.
All right, so the Bottom Feeder is a underwater vacuum. When I was doing pools, I'm a pool guy. When I was first doing it, I got one of the other vacuum systems, and they were just so heavy and hard to bring around. And if you didn't have a cart, they were a pain. And even with the cart, it was a lot of work, and I just thought there must be a better way. So I was trying to actually just make a lighter weight version of theirs that would still attach. But one day I remember I was at a pool, bought a little lithium-ion battery, a little square one you buy from some company. It was like almost $200. But I just decided to just see what happened if I duct taped it to my pole. And I had a shorter cord to plug it right into my head. And I went put that in there, and I could see air bubbles going in there. So I knew it was a one use. But when I was doing it, I said, yeah, this has to be it. I'm not attached to anything, because I did a lot of commercial pools that had, lane dividers and stuff that would be hard to go up and under when you had a cable and all that stuff. So, and then to pull it out and pop it right in the hot tub or a fountain. So that's when I changed my direction, going towards, I need a battery that I can put on this pole. And then that led to lithium-ion batteries, which is have become my nemesis. And we'll get deeper into that, but it's just a way to make a better mousetrap. And for a while, I was just sort of just trying to design something in between, like the dust buster on the sticks that you can get, the little ones, and then the big ones. But then what I ended up with, I was just competing against myself. So I ended up with something that you could vacuum in less than 4 inches of water and all this other stuff, and it picks up most of the stuff that the bigger vacuums get. Anyway, so it ended up being a really good thing. And then, after 6 years of playing with it, I finally got it on the market. And now it's been about 5 or 6 years since we've done that. We're at now.
Let's talk a little bit about the current things that people are messaging me about, and of course your company about. Let's just start with one of the biggest things I'm getting now is because people are very price conscious in the industry, mainly because the chemical prices have, quadrupled in the last 3 years. All of our liability insurance has gone up. Everything has this equipment prices have gone up pretty high. You can't get anything decently priced anymore. I mean, if you want a new heater for your customer, you're going to pay $4,000, where it's crazy, the prices that everything's at now. So the price point, of course, of the Bottom Feeder has kind of slowly crept up. There's still, of course, great value for it because you can vacuum a lot faster with this thing than with a regular vacuum system for sure. There's no cord and it has great power. So talk a little bit about why the price point is creeping up on the consumers.
Yeah, you bet. So for the Bottom Feeder, I started that in my garage, right? I had me and a guy in my garage building it. So this was my breaking into manufacturing and how to price out stuff. So I'm buying so much stuff almost retail to put on that when it started. So it's taken me a long time to sort of get there. And the problem is, as over the years when we would come up with problems, all my solutions required a ton of labor to fix. Because you're making stuff waterproof and all that stuff, as far as the motor and all that stuff. So it's very time consuming to build. And we build those in a shop in Chatsworth, California right now. It's the same as all the other parts are going to get better as far as chemicals and all that stuff. It's same with parts sourcing. It's really hard to get stuff, and then it's now that my volumes are going up, it's hard to get stuff reliably, and then I have to go to another vendor and get stuff that's tends to be a lot more expensive in the short run. We are building this stuff on a fairly small scale relative to a lot of stuff. We don't send them to China and get them made. Some of our components are made in China, like the motor. You can't get an 18-pound thrust motor in the U.S. that's made here anywhere. I'm still looking. The one we found is great. Actually, I'm here right now working in England, and the pool I'm taking care of is it's 33 feet deep and 110 feet wide, 2.25 million gallon tank. They've been vacuuming with bottom feeders that 33 feet down, which I had never tested at. I didn't know if they would last a week. For the last 6 months, they've been using them, a few days a week, and so the motor, we're starting to get the components are getting better and better. As far as the price point, I've found some stuff now, just in the recently, that the price will not be going up anytime soon, and I might even be able to have some sales coming up again, when stuff goes. But right now, because of the question that I'm waiting for you to ask about batteries lighting on fire. So basically, that was the problem. Is I'm looking for a battery manufacturer for so long. So I finally found a guy in the U.S. that I was making no money on my batteries selling them. I don't know what business could possibly run like that, but we were maybe about $20 if we were lucky, if the guys weren't dragging their feet assembling the battery packs in the shop on a battery pack, because I just wanted to be done with problems. So I had these guys, I paid them $40,000 to develop something just around the bottom feeder, all this stuff. And then it ended up being the worst battery of any of the ones that were made before it. But the good news about that is it led me to a company called Exponent, who all they do is battery failures, right? They're the ones who the lawyers call to figure out why stuff. So in trying to see if these were fixable, like why were these failing, they discovered that they weren't fixable. And I realized how bad they were and what isn't. And then working with them, it cost me about $75,000 because these guys are $650 an hour PhDs to look over the stuff. And it took a few months of testing. That's why everything's been on hold for so long, to make sure that it's going to be a battery that doesn't, they couldn't make it fail. That's all they do. So I finally had the battery that's not going to fail. For so long, I'm making no money. So now, as a result of that, so we'll pretend you asked that question, then I'll just.
Well, I can ask the question. So what's new with the batteries with the bottom feeder?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're less likely to light on fire than previous batteries that we've done. But now I changed the chemistry. There's things I didn't know. So they were a regular lithium-ion battery. Can't remember exactly what the chemistry is. It has a shorter range of run temperature and stuff. We really shouldn't be running it if you're over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, which I know some of our, us from California and people in Florida and Louisiana and all those, we run to those temperatures quite regularly. So that wasn't really the problem with those batteries. It wasn't the cells failing, it was the boards on these things. So I've had that heavily engineered now, and it's got all kinds of safeties and stuff on it. But I also changed the chemistry of the batteries to what's called lithium iron phosphate. So it's an LiFePO4 would be the chemistry, and they don't hold as much energy, right? So you're not going to get as much runtime. So now we're at about a 90-minute runtime, but they have a much longer battery life. The other ones we had were about 500 full charge recharges. These ones are about 2,000. So they'll have a longer life, and you can charge them faster. So now the previous ones had a 3-amp charger and a much, it would take about 8 to 10 hours to charge the battery. The new ones have a 5-amp charger, but they actually run at a lower amperage. So basically it works out to, it's about a 2.5-hour full charge from full discharge. But if you charge it for 10 minutes, it gives you 7.5 minutes of runtime. So you're never screwed. So basically, I just put together a little video myself. We're just editing it out, just something to get out to the guys. and I'll show it to you, and then I'm going to give you the new bottom feeder stuff and see if you can run it through its paces and see if that works. We're having guys plug an inverter, at least a 300 watt or better, in their truck, and then plug it in between pools. You just put like a plastic Rubbermaid tub on the passenger seat, so you just put your wet bottom feeder in there, unplug your battery, the cord like you would normally would, and plug it in for the ride. And then that way, if you're charging between pools, the odds of it ever running out during the day are almost nil. And it turns out with these battery chemistries, it's better to not fully discharge and charge. The smaller cycles will give you a longer life in your battery as well. I'm excited about these new batteries. It was just so much worse than I could ever have imagined. We got so screwed over by this previous company. So now I'm about $350,000 in debt, And to give you an idea, I've in my movie side, my pool guy gig, I've made over $500,000 in the last 2 years on movie stuff. That's all gone, plus $350,000 in taking care of the stuff. I went home for Christmas, had to sell my truck just so we can keep POs coming. So I have some inventory for stuff, and borrow $50,000 from my brother-in-law. So went from a relatively comfortable place, but I just couldn't let it go. The bottom, because it's just such a good vacuum as far as it works, And then when I bring it here and I show these guys in England who haven't seen anything pool related, they're just blowing their minds. I got the underwater DPs from Australia, and he said, "I want to be your guy in Australia." And so the only problem with it is when the reliability issues, right? If batteries are failing and that kind of stuff, it's a problem. The other sort of innovation that I've just come across at an American company, because we have our switch cords that we finally got really good waterproofing on the cord part, the switch part that we put in there. Try as I might, I can't find anybody in the world who makes a waterproof switch cord that can handle that kind of power under $350 for just the switch. And so we got that, but it's the connectors on the ends fail. And then so it makes it all a waste, And each of those cords takes one of my guys 1 hour to make. So, it's another thing why the price points are high is they're so labor intensive. You can't find machines to do this. But I found a company in the U.S. that makes one. It's got a big metal end on it. A previous iteration had some made in China one that just was even worse. But these guys have done something innovative inside of it. They added an adhesive in where the other ones were just sort of pressure fit. That makes it so the ends won't fail like that. So it's good news in those are the big Achilles heels, battery obviously, and then that switch cable, has been. I lose so much money on warrantying those over the years just because it's hard to find the cables, and we run into two manufacturers that are neither of them are very good, and they're very unreliable in their shipping times and stuff. One's out of Mexico, and the government tells them they can only sell to car factories, and so we think something's coming in 2 weeks, and it comes in 6 months, and then so we have to get from this American company, which is much more expensive, but also less quality product. It doesn't, it breaks more. But we just need to make sure guys have something. So getting through stuff. And if I seem to be rambling, it's because I'm so jet lagged. I just flew into London yesterday.
Bottom line, you covered the price point, the labor of making the bottom feeder, all the money that you've been throwing into the company to get reliable parts is why the price point is where it's at. Now, I would assume that the lead time is because of the part shortage that you just talked about, 8 to 12 weeks when you order it. That's another kind of complaint that I often hear is like, is the bottom feeder worth waiting for 3 months to get?
Yeah, so that is basically, that one was because we had no batteries coming in, right, at all. And then we were relying on other people's timelines when they're telling us something, and then they could just change them. So it was very frustrating. But a lot of it was we had to get this, made sure the testing was going to pass and all that stuff. So that 8 to 12 weeks will probably stay in place for a bit, but we do have batteries in now. But now we are, I have 750 recalls. It's a long time to just get that stuff churned out in our shop. So I'd imagine it'll probably be like that for as much as another month. Then that time will come down. And then I'd imagine in about 4 months, we should be at the point where we can be actually shipping out same week. because I've my new manufacturer and stuff, they can keep up with a lot higher volume than my previous one for the batteries and that stuff. So that will be coming down, and it's frustrating. But just think, it is the only way to get yourself in the next place in line. And it might not be 8 to 12. Like right now, if you order one, it's not going to be 8 to 12 weeks, and there is stuff in stock. And but it'll be a bit because we're just waiting on filling orders that we had to push when everything went south with that last battery manufacturer. That will be remedying itself, and it is. I can imagine it's the most frustrating thing. But if you guys could just think of me as a pool guy that you're crowdfunding to make it, yeah. Because I've always been a pool guy first, right? And that's sort of the bottom feeder was sort of like my side gig. I was just sort of doing it and stuff, but now I've realized I can't just leave it up to somebody else to run for me or anything like that. And I've got good guys. I've had to just fully wrap my hands around getting stuff there. We're coming out of it, but the main thing is it's been for years. I've had problems with those batteries. It's been the worst thing ever. And the blessing in all this is that I found that company that is able to actually tell me what's wrong and give me solutions to fix it. With that behind me, I'm a lot of hope for being able to really start cranking these out.
Yeah, so if someone orders a bottom feeder now, they're going to get, of course, the updated battery, a little shorter runtime, but you mentioned the ability to charge it in your truck. So basically, the bottom feeder in this next generation is going to be the most reliable version of the bottom feeder.
It's all those innovations that are coming down the pipe. But yeah, so the inverter, I'm also looking into selling some inverters online because I think I might be able to sell them a couple bucks cheaper than you can even get them at Harbor Freight and stuff. You just need a 300 watt or better. A modified sine wave or pure sine wave is preferable, but they cost a lot more. Harbor Freight sells a 400 watt one that works great that I've been using. And then we just got the test one, and I'm going to send that one to you, actually, David. Some tests with that.
Yeah, Harbor Freight, that store stinks. Literally, it stinks. I don't know what that smell in there is.
That is the smell of Chinese packing grease.
I hate going in there. It's really bad. I was wearing a mask in there before COVID,
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know if anybody that worked there got COVID, though. I think it was pretty much, it couldn't survive in that environment.
So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the bottom feeder over a regular vacuum system. Now, I love this thing, and the runtime of 1.5 hours is not really a handicap because I can vacuum a 15,000 gallon pool in about 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes completely, because the speed at which you can push this thing at, number one, is faster than most of the other vacuum systems out there. And number two, you just turn on the switch, drop it in there, and you just vacuum away. What have you heard from pool guys that use your product?
Yeah, it's basically. So what the normal was in the beginning was they said they saved an hour and a half on their day. It was almost across the board. That's what we would hear from guys that had a full day. When they had a full day of pools, they would normally be doing. This would knock an hour and a half off, and they're vacuuming all their pools because there's a lot of customers out there, and for a pool guy, very frustrating. You get a windstorm, right, and you go there and you're just trying to get the big debris out. And then you get a call from the customer, why didn't they vacuum my pool? And so this sort of lets you do that, so it doesn't take you 3 weeks after a windstorm to clean it up just to have another windstorm that Friday after you vacuumed the last pool. And that's actually where we got the slogan for the bottom feeder was one Friday. I just finished vacuuming all my pools after one of those Santa Anas. And then it just started blowing and and then I just said, it sucks to clean pools, man. I don't know what I'm doing. And then that's where we got the bottom feeder. It sucks to clean pools. And hopefully it sucks a little less when you have a bottom feeder. I know a lot of guys what I notice is the guys are quickly addicted to it. It's when it goes down, they want it fixed fast. And even for me, when I was doing my prototypes, it was the same. When I was doing pools, I would go back and spend 3 or 4 hours in my garage fixing it to get it to work, then do one more pool because without the bottom feeder, it's the effort isn't, you don't get the reward for the effort.
And it's very similar to a regular vacuum system. For those who haven't used it, the 18-pound thrust motor, I really don't notice a huge difference between that and the larger vacuum systems. And plus, since the propeller's on the bottom, it kind of makes up for the effect of the lower thrust. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, I put the propeller on the bottom. And a lot of the big guys, they just basically take a trolling motor propeller and trim it down or use what's stock off the shelves. because it pushes away from the motor. But I wanted to be able to vacuum shallower, and it makes it much easier if you get debris or something. If you happen to have too many palm fronds that build up around the motor shaft, it's easier just to reach in from the bottom there and clear it out, And you'll notice it's a much smaller propeller, so there's actually more clearance between it and the outside. You have the option of putting the thruster ring in, which gives it better suction, so you can vacuum in shallower water. Or if you want to just vacuum in dirt or heavier little rocks or something, it works better. But you can take the thruster ring out, it gives you that more clearance around the propeller, and you can get good sized twigs to go in there. And then the way I designed the propeller, it actually pushes stuff up and outwards. So a long straight thing, a lot of times it would push straight up into the bag and not make contact with the propeller. For me, I was probably about 100 different times on a 3D printer just to develop the propeller we put on that.
Yeah, I just think it's really a work of art. I mean, the design of it, the usefulness of it, the portability of it, the weight of it. I believe altogether it weighs like 12 pounds, right? With everything, battery, the head, and the durability too. I mean, besides the little problem you have with the battery, the vacuum itself is extremely durable.
It almost ended me financially, that little problem.
And it's fireproof too. The vacuum head is made of aluminum, right?
But no, it's we've seen fires where it's been melted. So just so you know, but it's more fireproof than your average. But yeah, it's an aluminum head, and that's the other thing too. Is there's so much plastic. Everything's made out of plastic and plastic junk and stuff. And, so this one, the majority of the materials are, aluminum. You can't get much more recyclable, if that matters to you. But I just like, it's just straightforward, and it's metal. And if it bends, you can straighten it out a little. It's very fixable, and I made it all modular. So where the motor goes in, the motor housing is, you can take that off, and you can switch out just about every part on it. And it makes it's much simpler to use, and much more fixable than other systems that are out there, And so that was sort of the idea. Is I did it around the pool guy, being a pool guy, is that I wanted to make life easier. So every time I find something that sucks, I would go in and fix it. Speaking of that, as we went with vac bags. My buddy Gary used to, he's bought a bottom feeder and comes to the shop all the time. He started making his own bags, and then I noticed on the back bags when they were getting him in the shop, he had way too long of a tail on him, and I'm all, that'll just get sucked into the back head. How long have we been selling these? So sorry to all the frustrated pool guys that have been having that thing go into their propeller. So now we're getting them to cut the knot, because the knot doesn't need to be any longer than the bag fully open. It's those kind of things that are, but I've been working in, mostly in the UK for the last 8 months, so it's been hard for me to really babysit, but I was back there for the last 5 weeks and got a lot of this stuff done. And so now my days start when China wakes up at 4 a.m. China's 8 hours ahead of me, so it's 6:24. So long days.
I think the price point, if you save an hour and a half a day, is definitely worth it. That means you can do 6 more pools a day basically, and it'll pay for the bottom feeder in about a month for you, doing that many pools. And to be honest with you, my son's a musician, and when I was getting his new cello bow, he's like, "Oh, here's the low price one here for you. It's $800." And so they go up to like even $100,000 for a cello bow. It's really crazy. So it's not unusual in any industry to have to pay for quality.
And for ours, it would be, if it was just the head like the other companies sell, it could easily be half the price or less. It's the batteries they don't supply a battery, and for good reason. I remember actually it was the owner of the Power Vac when he saw me at, I don't know, it was the 3rd or 4th year that I was selling it, and he's like, "Oh, you're making a battery?" He's like, "Ouch, I don't know." It's been fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh my God. So I hear that same conversation over and over in my head. Bing. If I just if I would have known then, we wouldn't have a bottom feeder today. Let's put it that way. If I had known how hard this road was going to be, there's no way I would have. I'd be a wealthy man today. My wife, like I said, calls it's not the bottom feeder, it's the wallet eater, is what she calls it. But it's going to be worth it, But I just, I love being a pool guy. I love making my friends and family members that are pool guys' lives easier.
And it's, it's one of those, it's a tool that it really does change more than any other tool that I've used and bought, because I bought every gimmick that ever came out at Western Pool Shop and Spa Show. I'd go there and spend $2,000 a year. And but this one is the one that it really changed my whole pool doing experience. And I know guys that have companies where they have 12 or more pool guys under them. They said the phone stopped ringing because they stopped getting those complaints from customers, right? Because when you look out and a guy's vacuuming your pool, what are you going to complain about? And that's what that was always the complaint. It's like, he didn't vacuum. So it's an fast, easy way to keep your customers happy. And it ups the quality of the work. So instead of leaving the pool about 80% clean every time when you're not doing it, you can leave them about 95% clean every time. There's no such thing as 100% clean in my book, and I always leave one leaf just so you don't build expectations.
You definitely have my support on this product, and I can probably vouch for hundreds and thousands. Well, not 100,000, but hundreds and thousands of pool guys that support your product, and we're definitely rooting for you and for this to be the best version of the bottom feeder coming up.
Yeah, and my customers, they're great, and I've made a lot of friends over the years in different stuff. Big pool guys, and I moved last year. I moved to the Las Vegas area from California. We're still making the bottom feeder in Chatsworth at this time, but I moved myself there just for my family needed a change for stuff with the schools and the kids and stuff. So we moved there. And I've met a lot of really good guys there. And all I can say to the poor guys in LA, they make about twice what we do in Vegas, and they don't have leaves or it's the easiest pool I've ever seen. I was just like, I'd still be just a pool guy today if I knew that was an option.
Well, thanks for your time, Glenn, and for updating the pool guys and on the bottom feeder and the progress you made and the money you've lost, I should say, also on this product. And I guess the lesson is don't create a pool product, right?
Yeah, not with a lithium-ion battery, especially. That is a big no-no. But I just want to shout out to all the pool guys. I love you all. I love our gig. I still trying to get credits on a movie as pool guy. They keep pushing back like we're some kind of bottom feeders or something. I don't know. So that's also where the name of the product came from, is because it was always like we're the low man. It's like, dude, we live good lives. We're a good group of guys, and we take care of our customers. So love you all. Love you, David. God bless you, brother.
And if you're looking for more information on the bottom feeder, I have several videos on YouTube detailing the bottom feeder. I'll also be filming the new version coming up pretty soon. And if you're looking for other podcasts on other subjects, if you go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, I have over 1,300 podcast episodes that you can listen to at your leisure. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app. Pool Service Pro, open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.